When you think of Aston Martin, you think of power and poise, of sculpture and sound, of a name that's as much an emotion as it is a badge. Now, with the new DB12 S, Aston Martin claims to have taken the already sensational DB12 and elevated it into something sharper, faster, and even more engaging. A car that sits right at the crossroads of luxury and performance. So let's find out whether this latest evolution truly earns its Super Tourer S title. At first glance, the DB12 S feels like a familiar silhouette. The long hood, the taut rear haunches, and that unmistakable Aston stance remain. But look closer and the changes begin to reveal themselves. The car wears a new dual-element front splitter that does more than look menacing. It actually works the air. It visually lowers the nose, gives the car a more aggressive presence, and, crucially, channels airflow to reduce front-end lift. Above it, the bonnet louvres, finished either in gloss black or optional 2x2 twill carbon fiber, are functional too, extracting heat from the hot V4-liter twin-turbo V8 that defines the DB12's character. It's the kind of detail Aston Martin obsesses over. Design that performs a purpose without ever compromising beauty. Walk around the car, and the SUR-specific design touches continue. The gloss black sill extensions trace the line from that new splitter all the way down the flanks, visually lowering the car and giving it an unmistakably athletic stance. Subtle S badges sit just below each side strake, handmade, forged in bright or dark chrome, and finished with red glass enamel. They're small, but like a signature on a piece of fine art, they quietly tell you this isn't an ordinary DB12. At the rear, the transformation becomes even more assertive. There's a fixed rear spoiler, something Aston Martin doesn't add lightly, providing greater high-speed stability and a more dramatic profile. Beneath it, a reworked diffuser integrates the DB12S's stacked twin exhaust outlets, framed within a broader, more muscular bumper. It's both theater and aerodynamics in one gesture. The result is a car that looks faster even when it's standing still. Of course, design at Aston Martin has always been the surface of a deeper story. Underneath the hand-finished aluminum panels lies a familiar yet re-engineered platform. Power still comes from the Mercedes-AMG-sourced 4.0-liter twin-turbocharged V8, but here it's tuned by Aston's own engineers to produce 700 PS, or about 690 horsepower, and a brawny 800 Newton-meters of torque. That's a healthy step up from the standard DB12, and it's not just about numbers, it's about character. According to Simon Newton, Aston Martin's director of vehicle performance, the technology we introduced with the DB12 now allows us exceptional scope to explore a new depth of character and capability within the same platform. With DB12S, we have carefully engineered detailed changes that preserve refinement, boost performance, and amplify driver engagement. In other words, this isn't simply a power hike, it's a holistic recalibration of the DB12 experience. The 8-speed automatic gearbox has been remapped for quicker shifts and sharper response. Aston Martin has also revised the electronic differential and fitted Bilstein DTX adaptive dampers with new software that broadens the chassis bandwidth. The result, they claim, is a car equally at home devouring an Autobahn at 200 miles per hour as it is carving through a mountain pass. And that's the essence of the DB12S. Versatility wrapped in velvet-gloved aggression. Engage the Sport Plus drive mode, and the car's character tightens. The throttle sharpens, the transmission snaps through gears with an immediacy that feels almost dual-clutch quick, and the exhaust deepens into a harder, angrier note. Yet switch back to GT mode, and the DB12S reverts to its grand touring heart, quiet, composed, and supremely comfortable over long distances. This balance between brutality and civility is something Aston Martin has always tried to master, but in the DB12S, it feels more resolved. Part of that comes from the chassis tuning, which uses stiffer anti-roll bars and recalibrated steering software for more natural feedback. The steering itself remains hydraulically assisted, a rarity in an era dominated by electric racks, and that decision gives the DB12S a level of feel that rivals can't quite match. Then there's the braking system. Carbon ceramic discs are standard on the S, reducing unsprung mass and increasing fade resistance. The pedal feel, firm, progressive, and reassuring, completes the performance triad of power, control, and confidence. All of this means that the DB12 S doesn't just go faster. It invites you to explore that performance with absolute trust in the car beneath you.
Aston Martin calls this approach the new depth of character, and you can sense what they mean. The DB12 S doesn't feel like a hardcore track special. Rather, it feels like an extension of the driver's intent. It's the type of car that rewards smooth inputs but never punishes enthusiasm. Step inside, and the transformation continues, not in radical layout changes but in nuance. The interior design remains unmistakably Aston, but the DB12 S receives its own distinctive touches. The most obvious is the red-anodised finish on the knurled drive mode selector, sitting proudly at the center of the console. It's more than a splash of color. It's a reminder that this car's DNA leans towards performance. The same red hue threads through the seatbelts, contrast stitching, and headrest embroidery, creating a subtle yet cohesive identity. The materials are quintessentially Aston Martin. Semi-aniline leather, Alcantara, and hand-stitched detailing that borders on couture. The seats, 16-way adjustable Sport Plus chairs, balance comfort with lateral support, the sort of craftsmanship that makes long journeys effortless, but still holds you firm during enthusiastic cornering. Buyers can also choose an Alcantara-wrapped heated steering wheel, and the optional Aston Martin wings are applied to the seat headrests using an industry-first technique that combines embossing and debossing for remarkable precision. Everywhere you look, touch, or sit, the DB12 S communicates refinement. Yet, it's not an anachronism. The infotainment system, developed in-house, is fully digital, operating through a sharp, fast-responding touchscreen that integrates with both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Behind the steering wheel sits a configurable digital instrument cluster, flanked by physical switchgear where it matters most. It's a best-of-both-worlds approach. Tactile when you need to focus, seamless when you just want to cruise. Aston Martin has also refined the car's acoustics. Engineers have tuned the exhaust and cabin sound insulation to deliver a split personality, refined quiet at a cruise, and an authentic mechanical roar under full throttle. The twin-stack tailpipes at the rear are tuned not merely for decibels but for tone. The note builds from a deep, cultured burble into a rich metallic crescendo, a sound that feels both old-school and utterly modern. Numbers can only tell part of the story, but they're impressive nonetheless. The DB12 S sprints from 0 to 60 in about 3.3 seconds and can reach a top speed north of 200 miles per hour. Yet what's more notable is how it delivers those numbers, without ever feeling brittle or temperamental. Where some supercars demand attention and compromise comfort, the DB12 S offers its thrills wrapped in silk. Aston Martin describes it as the evolution of the super tourer philosophy, a term that bridges the gap between grand touring and full-on sports car aggression. In practice, that means it's built to cross continents at high speed while engaging its driver every inch of the way. It's a modern interpretation of what the brand has been doing for more than 70 years, combining British craftsmanship with unapologetic performance. Inside the factory at Gaydon, each DB12 S is hand-assembled, its V8 meticulously tested before installation. Every panel, every seam, every stitch passes through human hands. This artisanal approach contrasts with the car's high-tech underpinnings, carbon ceramic brakes, adaptive dampers, electronically controlled differential, but it's that combination of tradition and technology that defines Aston Martin's modern identity. Out on an open road, the DB12 S transforms from sculpture to symphony. The V8's rhythm builds as the revs climb, the gearbox downshifts with crisp authority, and the chassis feels wired directly into your intentions. You sense that the car wants to go further, corner harder, breathe deeper. It's intoxicating, yet always civilized. That's the paradox Aston Martin has mastered here. A machine that's wild when you ask it to be, and utterly refined when you simply want to enjoy the drive. In the grand scheme of Aston Martin's history, the DB12 S stands as both evolution and statement. It marks a commitment to internal combustion excellence even as the industry pivots toward electrification. For a brand built on the romance of driving, this car serves as a reaffirmation that emotion still matters. It's also a sign of confidence. The DB12 S enters the scene at a time when Aston Martin's lineup is diversifying. Electrified models are on the horizon. The Valkyrie and Valhalla are redefining the brand's performance ceiling, and yet the DB lineage remains the beating heart. In that lineage, the S badge has always represented something special, the ultimate expression of the DB's capability. From the DB4 GTS to the V12 Vantage S, the badge has meant more than speed. It's meant focus, purity, and intent. The DB12 S carries that tradition into the modern era, coupling immense performance with modern usability. So, is it the ultimate Aston Martin GT? In many ways, yes. It blends muscle with sophistication, aggression with artistry. It feels less like a replacement for the DB12 and more like its alter ego, a version that whispers refinement one moment and shouts performance the next. For the enthusiast who wants a car that can cross a continent at dawn, arrive at a gala by dusk, and thrill on a back road on the way home, the DB12 S might be the sweet spot. It's the Aston Martin ethos distilled into metal, leather, and sound. Viewers who've sampled early prototypes describe a car that feels taut yet composed, immediate yet graceful. The steering communicates every nuance of the road surface. The suspension breathes with the asphalt rather than fighting it. There's more front-end bite than before, and the rear axle feels more alive, more adjustable, giving the DB12 S a balance that flatters skilled drivers without intimidating less experienced ones. The technology package complements this dynamic poise. The car offers adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, blind spot monitoring, and a 360-degree camera system, features expected of a modern Grand Tourer, but Aston Martin has ensured they remain subtle aids, never intrusive. The focus is always on the driving, not on the driving assistance. And perhaps that's the most endearing trait of the DB12 S. It's not trying to be an EV alternative or a digital showcase. It's an analog experience honed through modern engineering. There's still a start button that wakes a V8, still a tangible connection between throttle and torque, still that feeling that you're piloting something built as much by passion as by precision. Visually, the DB12 S distinguishes itself in the smallest of details. The carbon fiber weave that catches the light differently at dawn, the curvature of the bonnet that seems almost alive as reflections roll across it, the red enamel S glinting like a gemstone beneath the sun. Each element serves as a subtle reminder that this car isn't just faster. It's more focused, more confident in its identity. As the world changes around it, electrified, digitized, autonomous, the DB12 S stands as a reminder of why we fell in love with driving in the first place. It's visceral yet elegant, powerful yet poised. Every inch a celebration of motion. Aston Martin calls it the new pinnacle of performance and style. And for once, the marketing line might be underselling it. Because the DB12 S isn't just a faster car. It's a love letter to driving, written in the language of speed, sound, and soul.